Wowzers, I am getting bored, people. I mean, granted, I do enjoy making these videos, but I can definitely see a few people watching the videos, myself included, might notice I've been following a little bit too long of a pattern with my videos. I mean, I did two sci-fi westerns as my first two reviews. I proceeded to do two arcs of Cardcaptor Sakura, followed by the first arc of Sailor Moon. Then I did Hellsing, Devil May Cry, and Berserk. I'm really noticing that I'm tending to lean towards and against certain genres at different times, but to change things up, I am definitely going to do something a bit darker this time, since apart from Berserk, I haven't really covered anything majorly dark. The problem is, though, I don't really know where to start.
Hi, Quint, that's where I come in.
I know that voice.
It's me, the Safe Buster.
What are you doing here? I thought I gave you my old channel.
Well, okay, let's be real here. I'd much rather steal ideas than make my own.
Well, yeah, but you also never continued my short films either. You have one massive paranormal case never closed. Can you honestly tell me that as an investigator, I would just let that slide?
I haven't even gotten a full video to myself, man. Look at me, I love anime. I'm the rad dude Maverick. I mean, come on. All this anime merch, I got a soft spot for anime. Why don't we do some collabs, Q, man?
Okay, fine. You guys can join me on my channel again. After all, it's not really much of a Quint and his clones if my clones aren't actually here. Alright, y'all. Sorry, clones, I'm changing my shirt so I stand out a little bit more from all of you. Okay, so, since Maverick hasn't gotten a true video to himself yet, I think it's only fair that he joins me for the first review of the Clone Reunion. So, Maverick, here's what I'm gonna do, okay? I'm gonna go on a top 10 darkest animes list, and I unfortunately won't be able to watch it with you because I will have places to be for Thanksgiving. But until then, I'll order off Amazon. When it comes in, you can watch it on your own. Then when I get back from Thanksgiving, because I got places to be, you can watch it with me and we can review it together, okay? So, okay, let's see now. Let me pull up the webpage. Okay, so I've pulled up a list of top 10 darkest animes to watch. And off the bat, we have a few problems on this list. One of them has said Berserk, but we can't exactly do that because I've already reviewed Berserk in its entirety. And I have no desire going back to it, at least not at this point in time. It also is saying Hellsing Ultimate, but I feel like Investigator Ulrich would be better suited for that since he's the paranormal detective. How about Cowboy Bebop? That one's pretty well known, and that one's pretty dark.
That's too cliche, man. Cowboy Bebop's been done to death. Don't you want to save that for a later video anyways?
Yeah, okay, good point. It might be better to save that one for later anyways. How about... About a split personality disorder, Diclonius girl, lots of blood, symbolism, and it's only 12 episodes long, so you could definitely finish it before I get back. Elfen Lied? Does that intrigue you? I mean, I can order that off of Amazon. It's pretty inexpensive, only going for about $30. A bit pricey for 12 episodes, but it definitely will ship quickly, so you want that?
Okie dokie, Amazon order history, add to cart.
Elfen Lied. Alright, so I'm ordering that.
Later.
Whew. Hey, Maverick, I'm back. Maverick? Where do you... Oh, my... Hey, did you watch it? Oh. It was bad, huh? It couldn't have been that bad. Come on, man. Hey, buddy, hey, it's okay. I know not everything you watch is gonna be a 10 out of 10. It's just bad luck that things went off the way they did. I mean, that's how it goes with anime. I mean, I've reviewed plenty of good animes, yet at the same time, I understand running into a bad anime first time is only run of the. Oh, well, this bloody cover definitely is not what they advertise on Amazon. I mean, thankfully it does censor it out with the bloodstains being in the coincidentally right locations to not review anything too bad, but it couldn't have been that bad. Come on, man. Here. I'll watch it with you, okay? Okay, fine. I'll watch it alone. I'll tell you, it's not that bad. I'll watch it right now. All 13 episodes, back to back, and I assure you, I will.
6 hours later.
Good God, what have I watched? Gosh, oh man. God, I'm taking off the mask and hat, folks. Hello, Maverick Double here. Under normal circumstances, I would wear the masked man, but come on. This anime sucks. The original clone Quint is gonna be on the microphone, so say hi, Quint. Greetings, comrades, and hello, everyone. I feel ya, and I tried to tell ya, didn't I? Yep, that's correct. This is one case of man versus machine where machine won. Well, regardless of that fact, we watched it. Now we gotta review it. Couldn't have said it better myself, Maverick. My clones, despite being different personality-wise, we at least share vaguely similar opinions. I mean, on this retrospective, considering I've already done my Halloween special with things like Hellsing and, well, Berserk especially, you'd think I'd do something Thanksgiving-themed for, well, November, but I don't know, it's really hard to find an anime that feels like it could fit in that criteria, and while I would talk about an anime I'm thankful for, I've realized I've done a lot of positive reviews, say for DxD Season 1 and most of WATV, so for this Thanksgiving, we're going to appreciate what we're thankful for by delving into what we're not thankful for in order to make what we're thankful for all the stronger. Does mean it'll be negative, though. I mean, Elfen Lied is just that. Like, this anime is such a downer, to the point that we can't even show the intro to it, Quint! Wait, what? For real? It's that bad that we can't even show the intro? Why? I know, it's stupid considering the intro literally has nudity in it. Come to think of it, yeah, you're right, it actually does. Wow. I mean, the animation is nothing special either. It's just a few generic zoom-in shots with really, really depressing music. Ugh. What fashionist decided to make the colors and textures look like that? The colors and the freaking backgrounds look just so weird.
I mean, seriously now, we've covered great intros in almost every single Anime Memories retrospective, like The World Without Logos in Hellsing Classic, which, okay, the animation was mad, but it was still great, and things like Cardcaptor Soccer Opening 1, Catch Me If You Can, were absolutely fantastic at the time. Regardless of animation or not being dated, it was still more entertaining than what we got here. I mean, even in things that were just kind of okay, like Opening 1, Melissa, a Full Metal Alchemist 03, which that video is a Google Photos exclusive because YouTube copyright sucks ass, but whatever. And even in some intros that weren't exactly great, like Twilight Venom and WATV, they at least had effort put into them. Yeah, the name of the opening song in WATV is Twilight Venom. Not a very creative name, but at least it was a better opening. Here, the intro and Elfen lead is so lazy. I could make an identical intro in about 5 minutes. In fact...
That looked just as bad in comparison to the original.
Yeah, okay, good point. Maybe it's not as easy as it looks. Don't agree with him! This is Gene we're talking about here, the most evil being ever known to man!
Yeah, sounds like these two have a bit of history. Ah, man, we're starting off with the touchy subject right off the bat. In theory, the characters have good ideas. And I definitely do feel sorry for them, since their backstories are really, really dark. The problem is, a majority of them, I really didn't latch onto, nor did I really feel an reason to care for them. And I know that sounds heartless, and I do feel sorry for them. The problem is, the way they handle it is so obviously trying way too hard to get the viewers to do that. The main characters, Koda and Yuka, are fine. They're really simple and kind of generally lean towards the whole Japanese teen couple that you kind of see in these kind of things, but it's fine. On the way, they meet a little girl named Niu, who has these little horns, but it's way more complicated than that, as Niu is actually an experimental creature from a research facility called Lucy, who was a mass murdering Diclonius, which is this alternate race thing, which is what the people with the horns are called. They're called Dicloniuses. And since she escaped during the attack and got hit, she has split personality after getting hit in the head with a bullet, making her go from Niu, the little cute cat girl, to, well, Lucy, the stone-cold murdering psychopath. And again, this is all fine, but it doesn't transition off each other that well. Then we get a little girl named Mei, who really does have a really tragic backstory, being, well, molested by her adoptive parents, being an orphan, and I do feel for her. She is really, really sympathetic. The problem is, apart from that, it's not really that interesting. Then we get Nana, who is another Diclonius girl, who does bring out a really good side of one of the antagonists, and I do think she's cute, and she does work as another Diclonius, as well as giving an excuse for an early action scene in around episode 4. It's just hard with the fan service and trying to make her all cutesy with all the dark stuff. Then, for the antagonist, we got Kurama, who is probably my favorite character since he's really sympathetic. I do like his backstory. His voice actor did a fine enough job, and he actually got character development, something the series didn't really give a lot of characters, and I think his screen time was the most effectively used. His backstory was tragic and relatable, and his entire arc is probably the most cohesive. Early on, we have this dude named Bondo, who's your typical rough and gruff soldier,
who loves a good fight and is hired to kill Lucy/New once she escapes the research facility. And, he's fine as a threat, and he's definitely intimidating. And they do, wreck him, since Lucy absolutely pokes out his eyes and rips off his arm, making him go under this crazy scientific process that gives him robotic eyes and mechanical arms, so he can fight against Lucy and the other Dicloniuses, or Diclonii. I do not know what the plural Diclonius is. And they do try and make him really threatening, and, well, they definitely did that, but the manga actually got it better, where they gave us a reason for this and actually made him kind of sympathetic in the manga. I always complain about source material consistency, but Banda was better in the manga. Then we have Mariko, who is the big final, powerful, and obviously most strong Diclonius, who, again, does bring out a good side of Kurama. The problem is, again, she's introduced way too late, and, well, she's kind of creepy, and even the action scenes with her are, well, kind of a bit of lackluster for the big final fight. And again, I do like it how she unleashes a side of Kurama, much like Nana unleashed a side of this dude, but it's just really tacked on. And I do admit, Mariko and Kurama's very last scene is probably the most emotional scene in the anime, and heck, even the wiki calls it as the most moving scene, and I agree, since the scene where Kurama and Mariko both die probably is the most emotional I got in the series, at least as a viewer, but it doesn't change the fact that Mariko is obviously just there to be the big final, most powerful thing for a big final action scene, and it definitely feels a little bit tacked on. Not overly terrible, the character, just really, really not used in the most effective way, especially for being introduced so late on. And really, Mariko more strengthens Kurama than herself, and that's anything but a compliment towards Mariko. I am sorry to say it. And the main antagonist behind it all is the big head of the researcher facility, whatever you want to call it, Director Kakuzawa, who's a douchebaggy old man who has a god complex since he found out about the Dicloniuses and wants to make humans perfect, but it's revealed that he's actually partly a Diclonius himself, and he never dies, except in the manga. Like, the characters themselves are really dark, I don't deny that, and I really do admit that the characters have some really, really dark themes going for and against them. The problem is, I don't latch onto these characters because, apart from the whole dark sympathy thing they have going, they're really not all that well written. Took the words right out of my mouth, Maverick. The problem isn't that the characters aren't relatable. I don't deny that. They're really sad, they're really sympathetic. And in the manga, some characters got the better treatment. And overall, I prefer the manga as a whole. One of the few times I'll say right now that I preferred the manga. No, not because of source material purists or consistency, but because the manga just had a more cohesive story, especially with characters like Bondo, and heck, even other characters like Yuka, and just so much more stuff was better done in the manga. Not because of me being a manga purist all of a sudden or whatever, but just because of what storytelling is. And the main thing about the characters is they're dark, they're sympathetic, for sure. I do not deny that. And these are some themes you really don't see in anime then, or even now. And keep in mind, this anime was released and first aired in 2004. Now, granted, it wasn't aired until America until 2006, but you just don't see these themes nowadays. And even back then with the censors released, this shit is way too dark for its own good. And that's the biggest problem. The characters don't feel, well, I mean, as dark as they don't feel real. I don't latch onto them. Like, giving them really dark and sympathetic backstories is interesting, yeah, but the problem is, apart from that, the characters themselves I don't really latch onto. Like, how do I say it? It's like they don't develop the characters. Giving your characters sad stories to make them relatable isn't character development, people. Character development should expand upon things. And I feel like the tragic backstories here were more used to answer why characters act the way they do. And now, granted, other series do that, but here, that's all we get. The dark stuff is so just only used for explaining rather than expanding, and that is not character development. Again, these kind of characters I normally would be intrigued by, but it's just not there, people. I mean, even the death scenes were a bit weirdly played. Yeah, that's another thing. When characters died with these really dark themes, I didn't shed tears. Like, I mean, you've shed tears in other death scenes. Absolutely! I cried way harder in other things we've covered in the retrospective, and that's such a hard thing to admit with all the dark themes here, but, like, take the ending for instance, where Lucy/New supposedly dies, but it's heavily implied at the very end that she was the one who rung the doorbell after her horn got shot off. But the fact that other death scenes like Nana's moved me more. I still didn't shed tears, but I definitely felt sadder internally. Makes the final ending and the death of Lucy/New, the character they focused on the entire time, makes it feel really lackluster. And the fact that Kurama and Mariko's ending, with them both dying, was the most impactful death for me personally, makes me feel like, well, what's the point of developing New/Lucy? I mean, I feel for these characters. The themes are really dark. The problem is, the characters are so one-dimensional because they're sad, they stay sad, they get more sad, and it doesn't work. And all the light pokes at comedy that the anime tries to do to lighten the mood are just really forced, and it just does not make any of the emotional scenes feel fresh or feel like it hits you because you start to see it coming. I mean, the anime tries to poke in humor here and there, but it's so bad and so forced to the point that you're just like, what are they trying to convey anymore apart from the sad stuff? All too true, Maverick. I was way sadder in other reviews and scenes of animes I've covered before in the retrospective. Take the final judgment of Cardcaptor Sakura's first arc, the Clo Card arc. Now, I've already nailed about how much I love Sakura's zero to hero nature. She started out as someone who was completely scared and unlikely hero, but slowly got braver and got more powerful. And by the end, during the final fights with Yue, it was amazing. It was one of my favorite Magical Girl fights ever animated. And the whole scene where Yue shows Sakura a, in quotation marks, normal life without magic, she starts to really miss the times, even though she started out as a wimp and an absolute klutz. I mean, she was outright scared during the very first Clo Card encounter and just wanted to live a normal life. But gathering more Clo Cards, making more relations along the way, learning more about herself, learning more about those she cares for, caused her to bond with the magic. And this is why she cries during the scene, because, well, even though she wanted to live a normal life, she saw the value, she saw the passion, she saw what she appreciated about the magic, regardless of the fact of just wanting to live a normal life at the start of the series. Much like Usagi, she shares the same "I didn't sign up to be a hero" act, but unlike Usagi, she actively embraces and grasps her role later on, thus making the final fight and finally defeating Yue and proving to him what Sakura was doing this for, as well as making Yue slowly join her side. It was just such a moving scene. It was so powerful, and it struck such a good note with me. And okay, I know I say this a lot about Cardcaptor Sakura being way better than Sailor Moon, but even Sailor Moon had really moving scenes that caused me to cry or me to get emotionally invested. Elfen Lied, for the most part, didn't really do that, with a very few exceptions. I mean, maybe it's because I feel like the characters were more interesting in Cardcaptor Sakura, but Elfen Lied's characters really didn't do it justice for me. The reason why I cried here, unlike in a majority of Elfen Lied, was because, well, I didn't see it coming. And even times where I did see it coming, the series had already had more goofy, fun moments or other moments to make it feel refreshing. I mean, Cardcaptor Sakura had tons of laughs, tons of cool stuff, but the emotional stuff coming really late on makes it hit you because we haven't seen that side of Sakura yet. And even in Sailor Moon, I should probably bring this up. In my Black Moon Clan arc review, I said my favorite monsters slash minions of the week, in specifically the droid faction, was the monster that enters the dreams and the death sides. And the monster that enters the dreams sounds really cliche, since it puts Usagi to sleep and she'll only be woken up if she gets kissed by someone who truly loves her, aka Mamoru. But with the love drama going on, they kind of had to go out of the way to convince Mamoru to come and save Usagi. But I like this because one, the dreams of Usagi show herself as a kid running towards Mamoru, and it shows a lot about what Usagi thinks about herself, showing good character development, something Elfen Lee didn't have. I mean, Usagi always did at the start of every episode. I'm Usagi Tsukino, student in Juban, but I'm secretly the pretty guardian Sailor Moon. I'm a bit of a klutz. And this makes those, rants at the beginning actually a bit interesting because Usagi doesn't value Mamoru because of fated love or prophecy or power. She not only loves him because, well, she can relate to him, but also because she views Mamoru as an extension to her, maturity. She views Mamoru as, well, not just a source of his future, but her own. And the fact that she sees herself as a child hopelessly chasing towards Mamoru shows that she feels like she's regressing constantly. And without Mamoru, she feels like she'll go back to being that clumsy student that had nothing going for her and no one that would remotely love her. And that's what makes her love for Mamoru actually really, really interesting. It's still really cliche at the end of the day, but analyzing this dream scene more does show that Usagi really does value Mamoru, not just for power, not just for legacy, not even just for simping, but because she views Mamoru and her as something that will help them both evolve. Not just as humans, not just as power, not just as, lovers, but as people in general. It will develop their characters, and that's what it did. And that's what made the Dream episode actually really, really interesting, since Tuxedo Mask Mamoru was still going through the love drama, but he goes through it anyway since he doesn't want to lose Usagi. Even if the dreams that were just a massive test were trying to prove him otherwise, the fact that he went out of his way to do it shows that he did still retain love for her, and he does see, and I kind of think even Mamoru knew what was going on in the dream, since, well, like I said, Usagi views Mamoru not just as something to expand her maturity, but even Mamoru's own, since Mamoru had the whole, I'm Mamoru, I'm mean because I don't know my past, but Usagi being this a lot more eccentric and, funsy character would help Mamoru become a little less cold. And this is why I like Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura, and the fact that these shows about magical girls can make me cry, yet Elfen Lied can't, is a massive step against Elfen Lied.
Yeah, I mean, take Nephrite's death, for instance. It was really impactful because the series really didn't have that kind of brutality at that point. And the fact that Elfen Lied starts out really brutal makes it hard to make any future death or violence feel new or, oh my gosh, surprising, because it just started out so brutal. And that's what makes Nephrite's death all the more tragic. And what made you cry was because, well, the series built up to it and you didn't see it coming, and even then if you did, it's not like the rest of the series, so it feels refreshing. Elfen Lied just didn't do that. I mean, the fact that Kurama and Mariko's death was sad but didn't make me cry, yet this did.
Nephrite, please wake up. No, you can't go. You promised that we would have a chocolate parfait together. You can't just break a promise. You can't.
I mean, that scene does all the talking for me, man. It's like,
it just hits you harder because you didn't see it coming. And even if you did, the rest of the series wasn't like that. So it hits you harder. It's stronger. But like here, the emotional scenes just don't hit you as hard because, well, I mean, yeah, the dark stuff fits, but it doesn't feel refreshing. It doesn't feel new. It doesn't add anything. And I mean, I know you didn't mention this in your Devil May Cry video, but take the penultimate episode where it starts off the final fight with Sid in Devil May Cry the Animated Series.
Demon King.
What in the hell just happened?
My God. It's over. The world as we know it is coming to an end.
Don't you go dying on me, Dante.
And then it proceeds to show one of the best credit scenes I've ever seen in anime, period. It's one of the best cliffhangers, one of the best credit scenes, and the fact that the last episode brilliantly capitalizes on this makes this credit scene, this dreadful credit scene, all the more impactful. Yeah, like you never brought it up in your video, but this credit scene just hits you hard because we know Dante has always been this, great big powerful demon, and granted he has been stabbed by his sword before. I mean, it's happened in nearly every game, but the fact that he actually fell asleep from it this time, and the following scene where Patty goes into the demon world to save him, it just pulls on your heartstrings. Yeah, I wanted to avoid YouTube copyright by showing that clip, but hopefully they'll be forgiving this time. I mean, Maverick, I know you've said a lot here, but really, the characters in Elfen Lied overall have okay ideas, but they're executed really poorly. And even then, certain details regarding characters are really not that good, even in concept. Like, the idea of a split personality killer is fine, but the idea of it to be a cat girl and a cold-hard murderer is weird. Hey, Quint, guess what the world is? God, it's not another Japanese town, is it? Yep, sure is original, am I right? There is the lab and a few interesting locations, but really, people, does that even matter when most of it takes place in the Japanese town anyways? This world is bland and dry as all hell. It's just... ugh.
Sorry, I know you weren't looking for another house guest. That's okay.
The visuals, well, okay, the visuals are hard to describe. I mean, obviously, with the amount of nudity and blood, they went into great detail there. And the action scenes are actually not too bad. But everything else is just kinda, eh. I mean, like, for 2004, the animation is fine, and I mean, for the blood, the gore, the nudity, and the fight scenes, the animation is actually not too bad, but everything else, like a majority of the series, is just kind of there. I mean, like if this series had more action scenes, it could be justified. The thing is, this series isn't really about action, so the good action scene animation just doesn't save it. I agree with you for the most part, Maverick. 2004 was not exactly the best animation ever, but Elfen Lied does have okay animation in the action. I mean, they put a lot of thought and detail into the blood and nudity, but everything else is really slow and really bland. And that's the problem, is that outside of the action scenes, visually, Elfen Lied is a pretty big bore. It's like, if there was more action scenes, this might be justified, but there isn't, so the animation's really split.
I do sympathize, but without this operation, you're going to die on that table.
What are you telling me? I almost died once already. Now you're giving me this shit?
The fate of mankind depends on it.
Alright, Quint. You're usually the guy that talks about anime soundtracks, so I'm gonna give the honor of the rant to you this time. Well, musically, Elfen Lied is a major disappointment. Now, granted, the series is only 13 episodes long, 14 if you include the OVA. But the music is just plainly not interesting. I mean, it's atmospheric and iconic and dark, for sure, but the audio mixing is really not that great. And more often than not, the anime uses these 11 or so tracks. Yeah, this series only has 11 tracks, when Berserk had like 15, but still, I digress. My problem is that the anime more often than not opts to use silence to build immersion, which in a few cases it works, but more often than not it makes the soundtrack not appear at all, and the music, while being atmospheric, is really not that remarkable. This is one of my least favorite soundtracks ever made. Worst of all, the voice acting. I haven't even bothered watching the Japanese dub, since I really don't care to watch this series again. But the English dub, given the fact it was released 2 years after the original airing in 2004, came out in 2006. And this voice acting is really not that great, even for the time. I mean, no offense to the voice actors. They probably did better performances elsewhere, but the lines here and the deliveries were really questionable all throughout, with many instances to point at.
So I've decided to live here too. I'm moving in.
Huh? Wait, where are you going, you bitch?
I'll feel better when she's at home.
See you later. What are you doing?
He was looking for a girl.
You know, you can always tell me anything. Whatever you need, I'm there for you.
I've never seen you this upset before. You must really like the dog.
He's right. You don't laugh, you don't cry. You're really creepy.
Okay, cry. Cry and start begging.
I know this isn't a problem with the actors, since according to what I've seen on other sources, the actors seem to be fine in other places, so I don't know if it was them having a hard time getting into character, Elfen Lied being just a really out there story as is, or whatever, but the fact that we've had way better voice acting in 2006 and other franchises, and even before this, is outright baffling. Again, no offense to the voice actors, but there's just so much other better voices in other series.
Vaughn the Indestructible.
But then the thing he had about turtles, and this one being such a big fella.
Oh no, he was small back then. It's only recently. Anyway, I wrote it all out because I thought it would help with your article.
With the right motivation, maybe he could have been our ally.
A failed science project. Sending you back to your maker would be an act of mercy.
And as for the orchestra, it just vanished. Father Remington's looking into it, but... Oh, you devil.
No, I just over in...
That's not important right now.
What are you so worried about? A legend is simply a fable with no basis in fact. These mere children cannot become the magic knights.
Alright, I think that's enough of that. I mean, Quentin, you've already hammered in that animes have such a high audio standards, and Elfen Lied just does not meet them in any way, shape, or form. So let's finally get it over with the last segment, the story.
I'm not new.
Huh?
I'm Kunai. I forgive you. I forgive you, Koda.
Alright, Quint. Since you did all the talking about the audio, I'll just get the story over with quick because honestly, I don't even want to show clips anymore because I want to avoid any more copyright risks than we already have. Plus, we're probably going to have to make this one a Google Photos exclusive video anyways, so whatever. The story of Elfen Lied is just really, really hard to watch. The problem is, this series didn't really know what it wanted to be, if you ask me. Now, it wanted to be dark. That was obvious. But, like, did it want to be an action anime? Did it want to be an anime about a non-human character wanting to become human with a bit of slice of life elements? Did it want to be a horror anime? Did it want to be a harem anime because we got girls living with a single dude? The problem is the anime really didn't know what it wanted to be and what it wanted to do with the darkness. So it really jumbled around until it just finished. And the ending is really open-ended and probably what nailed the franchise to the ground to be lost for all eternity. I mean, this is why the manga is so much better. The manga actually gave certain characters more to work off of. Not that it matters, since I don't really like the manga as is. But it's just such a stupid, really inconsistent, hard to watch story. This anime is hard to watch. Now, granted, we were able to sit through it because it was only 14 episodes long, with 13 actual episodes and an OVA, but it doesn't make it any more fun. Like, if this was like 50 or 20 episodes, we would have dropped it. But since it was short, we could get through it, but that did not make it fun. I mean, most of the character stories by the end wrap up, and it all ends, you know, with Koda, the main dude, finding out Mew is Lucy, the super experimental killing Diclonius girl, finding out that in his past, Lucy had killed his younger sister, eventually getting to the point that he forgives her. Things all wrap up, bada bing, bada boom, and it's just like, I just could not really care by that point. By that point, they tried to wrap up the story, it was just too far gone. I mean, I would go into more detail about the story, but I really don't want to given how dark it is, how brutal some of the stuff they do is, and the fact that all the dark, brutal stuff is more used as a lazy way to make you care, rather than actually developing the characters, is a really lame cop-out. That's why I'm giving this anime a 1 out of 10. It had okay ideas at the start, and the first episode opening up with a big escape sequence was good, but it quickly fell downhill afterwards, and the animation can only save so much. That's why Elfen Lied gets a 1 out of 10. I would have given it a 0 out of 10, but since there is some stuff here, I'll agree with you and give it a 1 out of 10. Elfen Lied is the second bad anime we've covered on this channel, and I'd much rather watch DxD Season 1, since at least DxD Season 1 was a start, and it wasn't the entire series. DxD Season 1 was still disappointing, but Elfen Lied is just dumb, and I don't want to go back to it. I'm Quinn866, have a good one.